Battle CD11 is one of my all-time favorites. One-hit wonders, wipe out all Pokemon in a single shot. This is something that you don't see every day. We're gonna see 6 Pokemon faint in a single turn. Yeah, this is amazing. So, there's really only 2 moves that we need to know about here, but I'll get to that once we actually get into the fight. You only have 1 turn to do this, and it does not matter these Shedinja's stats or their moves. All that matters is the fact that they are Shedinjas. So, let's go. If it were any other Pokemon, the task of knocking out 6 in 1 turn would be pretty difficult, but in this one, it's actually pretty easy. Oh hey, an actually normal name, that's weird. So, 2 Shedinjas. There is only one thing that we need to do in this fight. Only one thing we can do, and it will cause all 6 Shedinjas to instantly fall before us. And that is... Spikes... Sandstorm. At this point, we just sit back and watch the fireworks. If that was a buffed Leech Life, it might actually be scary against Cacturne, but thankfully it isn't. That is a quad weakness though, and even if we lose Cacturne here, it's no big deal. Because as long as Magcargo gets Sandstorm off, we've got this. Sadly, Cacturne had to be sacrificed. Now, Shedinja's ability Wonder Guard means that it is not immune to Sandstorm, so... 1 Shedinja down. 2 Shedinjas down, and it's also not immune to spikes. So, you see where this is going. Three Shedinja KOs. 4 Shedinja KOs. 'This is still amazing. I love this so much. 5 Shedinja KOs. 6 Shedinja KOs. Easily one of my favorite battle cities. I love this one so much. Yep, that head slap is pretty much the reaction, the fitting reaction in this circumstance. What reward do we get for that massacre? A full heal. Won't help those Shedinjas! So yes, that is one thing, however... Well, this hint isn't helpful at all. It doesn't really explain it, but yes. So, yeah, Wonder Guard does not protect it from Sandstorm or Spikes. Any kind of residual damage, basically. What does this Battle CD teach us? Well, poor Shedinja, there's a loophole in its Wonder Guard ability. Wonder Guard makes Shedinja immune to any attacking move that isn't super effective. However, damage coming from sources other than attacking moves, and damage that is considered typeless, gets around this and hits anyway. In this case, Spikes and Sandstorm are both able to damage Shedinja, and since Shedinja only has 1 HP, even the smallest amount of damage from these moves is enough to knock it out. And when your opponent has 6 Shedinjas, that's a bad thing. What's changed? Well, things didn't get any easier for Shedinja over the generations. There are now 2 new entry hazards, both of them just as deadly to Shedinja as Spikes are. While Stealth Rock's damage is technically type-based, that doesn't matter because Shedinja is weak to Rock anyway, so instantly gone to Stealth Rock. Toxic Spikes won't get rid of Shedinja immediately, but it will poison it, and poison damage is another one of the things that gets around Wonder Guard, so once again bye-bye Shedinja. Not relating to Shedinja, but more to how this Battle CD works, fainted Pokemon are replaced differently starting with Generation 4 in Double Battles. They're replaced at the end of the turn rather than during it. However, since Spike's damage takes effect the moment a Pokemon hits the field, this Battle City wouldn't have changed in later generations. All 6 Shedinjas still would have fainted in one turn. And sadly for poor Shedinja, this isn't the end of the abuse it will suffer in Battle CDs. Battle CD 12, HERACROSS Bide-a-thon Who could hold out the longest? This is weird because the move Bide is not involved in this at all. I feel like there was a mistranslation here. The move that this one's all about is Endure. This is a pretty simple battle, but it again relies on knowing what the AI does. So, HERACROSS here has Mega Horn, Earthquake, Endure, and Reversal. It is slower than this Swellow at base, and HERACROSS is 4 times weak to flying, so Aerial Ace should one-shot the HERACROSS. And being slower, even if we use Endure, Swellow will be able to finish us off next turn. But we have a Salac Berry to boost our speed. The real thing that you want to take note of here is that this Swellow also has Endure, and it has its own Salac Berry. And so, let the Bide-a-thon, or really Endure-a-thon, begin! This is a pretty simple battle CD that there's not that much I can talk about regarding, because as long as you do this exact right sequence of moves, you will always win. Firstly, you have to use Endure. This will get you down to 1 HP after the Swellow uses Aerial Ace, because Aerial Ace would have knocked you out otherwise. HERACROSS is now at 1 health, and that also triggers the Salac Berry, meaning HERACROSS's speed is increased by 50%, so HERACROSS is now faster than the opposing Swellow. But, here's where things get annoying. The Swellow is going to use Endure this turn, so you want to intentionally whiff your turn here, because if you use Reversal now, you will activate the Swellow's Salac Berry, and then you'll be back to even speed, and Swellow will now win. So, now we can use Reversal. Because Endure has only a 50% chance of success if it's used 2 turns in a row, so Swellow isn't going to go for it. But if you do the moves in that order, you will always win this. Reversal at 1 HP has 200 base power, and that's before same type attack bonus, so there's no way that Swellow is surviving that. So for winning that, we get a Hyper Potion. The rewards are getting a little bit better. Let's see if the advice for this one is helpful at all. It actually is kind of helpful. Basically, they're saying that Swellow is not going to use Endure on turn 3, so that's your opportunity to attack. The lesson to take away here is less to do with Endure and Reversal, and more to do with the Salac Berry. A Pokemon holding a Salac Berry will eat it and boost their speed by 1.5 times when their HP gets low. Many Pokemon with middling speed stats like HERACROSS like to make use of this to outspeed Pokemon they wouldn't normally be able to. And this is especially vital when you're using the Endure Reversal strategy, because if you're not getting your attack in before the foe can hit you, you're going down. But the real thing this Battle City is teaching is, if you are using this strategy, be very careful of opposing Salac Berries. If a Pokemon is faster than you and also has a Salac Berry, them activating their berry will put your speeds back up to the way they normally are, and they'll be outspeeding you again. The Salac Berry itself hasn't changed much across the generations, but some new things were introduced that interact with berries. Gen 4 introduced a new move, Pluck. If Pluck hits something holding a berry, the user of Pluck will eat that berry and immediately gain its effects. Obviously, the Pokemon that originally held the berry has now lost it. Generation 5 introduced the Unnerve ability, which prevents all Pokemon on the opposing side of the field from eating berries. This ability is almost never used in single battles, but it's very common in doubles, especially after the buff to the Earpuppa berry family. So a few more things that Salac Berry users have to watch out for. But yet another problem for them is the Choice Scarf hold item. Starting with Generation 4, Pokemon have access to an item that will have their speed multiplied by 1.5 times all the time. In Gen 3, many Pokemon holding Salac Berries could feel confident outspeeding nearly everything once their berry's activated. This is not true anymore due to how prevalent Choice Scarf is. In fact, and this is less related to this Battle City and more like general competitive battling trivia, but the Endure Reversal Berry strategy pretty much died off after Generation 3 ended. The addition of Choice Scarf was one reason, but the other is that Gen 4 introduced a ton of priority moves. And so, with many more Pokemon having access to Always Strike First moves, suddenly being on 1 HP wasn't a good place to be. Sandstorm being more common due to the introduction of Hippowdon didn't help matters either. Endure Reversal saw some early use in Generation 4 on Lucario and Scizor, both of whom were at least immune to Sandstorm, but even that died out pretty quickly. Leaving this Battle CD is just a look at times gone by. Battle CD 13, what is Porygon anyway? Try transforming into different types. This is one that I often forget about personally. There is another Battle CD later on that's similar, but it's a lot cooler than this one. So we have a level 50 Porygon versus a level 50 Spinda with Brick Break. Two of the worst Pokemon in existence battling it out. Yeah, remember in Gen 1 when Porygon didn't evolve at all? That wasn't a good time for it. Now, the Spinda has Brick Break, and we're a normal type, so that's bad. But there is one move here that's the key to victory. Also take note, we are slightly faster than the Spinda. Battle of the terrible normal types, who will come out on top? Astor is actually a kind of normal name too. In the red corner, we have the Pokemon with 60s in every stat, Spinda! The only worthwhile thing about it is the collectible factor. And in the blue corner we have Porygon, which at least is tracing own tempo, but it's not going to do anything. So, our first port of call here is to use Porygon's signature move, Conversion. If you don't know what Conversion does, this battle might be a bit tricky for you. Conversion changes your type into one that gives you same type attack bonus on one of your moves. Now, since Porygon is already normal type, I'm pretty sure Conversion will skip over Facade and Sharpen, and turn us straight into a flying type with Aerial Ace, which is what we want, because transforming into a flying type means that we're now resistant to fighting instead of weak to it, so that's going to help us tank the Spinda's attacks. Normal Conversion is meant to be used offensively, but it actually kind of works defensively too. Since we're pretty much invincible at this point, I want to go for a couple of Sharpens. Conversion did get a lot better in later generations with the advent of Z move, so you can turn it into Z Conversion and raise all of your stats, while also giving yourself same type attack bonus on one of your attacks. That's pretty fun, but here it's generally not that useful, except in this one circumstance in this Battle CD, where it's actually kind of fun. Okay, that's enough messing around with you. I'm going to start Aerial Acing now. So we get same type attack bonus on this now. And with a couple of Sharpens, yeah, we're definitely doing enough damage to finish off this Spinda before it can beat us. Porygon's animations are still pretty silly, though. And that should be Spinda down. A pretty simple battle CD overall, if you know the trick. Like a lot of them are, really. And for completing Battle City 13, we get an Ultra Ball. Again, the rewards are getting slightly better, but now we only have one more Battle City left to complete before the shop starts selling some new ones. What did we learn here? Well, Conversion is a move, I guess. This CD is more of a niche one-time puzzle than actually useful to overall battling. Only one Pokemon family can learn Conversion, the Porygon line, and in most cases, it's a waste of a move slot. At least before Generation 7, but I'll get to that in a moment. What's changed? Well, I originally planned on only discussing Z Conversion from Generation 7, but doing my research, I found out that a lot more changed for the move Conversion across the generations than I expected. Conversion is still not a very useful move prior to Gen 7, but I still find this interesting. So, starting in Gen 5, Conversion can now be stolen by Snatch. Also, though I didn't list it here, Conversion works on Curse now, because Curse has been changed from a question mark type move to a Ghost type move. Starting in Gen 6, and this was something that I didn't actually know, conversion always changes you into the type of the move in your first move slot. If you're already that type, it then looks at your second move slot. And so on, and if all 4 of your moves have the same type that you currently are, conversion just fails. Gen 7 though was when the real change happened, and it launched conversion from a pretty useless move to a very, very dangerous one. With the Normalium Z, conversion can now be powered up into Z conversion, which in addition to what it normally does, also gives you a free Ancient Power boost, raising all your stats by 1 stage. This makes Porygon Z very, very scary. And since conversion gives you same type attack bonus on one of your moves, Porygon Zs using Z conversion don't even need to run normal moves. Usually they just use Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. Bear in mind that Porygon Z can have the Adaptability ability, which boosts the same type attack bonus from 1.5 times to 2 times, and that does apply to conversion. So yeah, conversion went from a joke move that no one ever used to one that's actually pretty powerful. That's right, it's time for Battle City 14, Whomp That WOBBUFFET, Counter or Mirror Coats. So we have a level 50 Roselia and Skitty, what is this, Lavrina's Fantasy, versus a level 50 WOBBUFFET. It only has Counter and Mirror Coat, as many WOBBUFFETs are apt to have, and we've got a variety of different moves on the Skitty and the Roselia. There are generally 2 ways to do this. Both of them are kind of luck reliant, but one of them is less so than the other. Oh, that name is almost a normal name, but replace that E with an O. Never thought I'd see the day when my sim trainer would be sending out a WOBBUFFET. So here it is. Like I alluded to, there are generally 2 ways to do this. The first is to count on luck and hope that you hit the wrong counter. So use a physical move and hope that it uses Mirror Coat. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to go for Bullet Seed. This will take longer, but because Bullet Seed does such little damage, you actually want to get a low number of hits here, it means that you're at less risk of being damaged by Counter or Mirror Coat. Because, as you can see here, even though it has gone for Mirror Coat, we did such little damage to it that we're not taking much damage from the counter attack ourselves. It does have leftovers though, so this is going to take a little while. But the general idea of this is that the weak multi-hit attacks that we have access to don't get countered for very much. Now, I could try and go for Sludge Bomb here, but I get the feeling that he'll, psychically counterpick me and use, I'm gonna go for it just to see what happens. But the AI could go ahead and use Counter. It's not doing very much damage. Of course you'd use Counter. So it's pretty inevitable that you lose one of your Pokemon in this. That's actually pretty good. Don't count on that happening all the time. Like I said though, this battle is pretty luck reliant for the most part. Actually, yeah. No, it does twice as much damage as your leftovers, I think. So with Skitty, you want to go for Double Slap. You could gamble on Assist and hope you hit something like Bullet Seed, but just go for Double Slap. That's usually the best option here. Kind of remind me of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, where Skitty's Double Slap was actually insanely powerful. As you can see here, we did barely any damage to it, so we take barely any damage from Counter. That's the general idea behind this battle CD. I got very lucky and poisoned, though. I'll definitely take that, though, because it makes this battle a lot quicker than it normally would be. The general idea is to play it very, very slow and safe with those weak moves. Though you might run out of PP for them eventually. Finally, you used the wrong counter. Guess that makes up for my luck with the poison. My lack of luck with the counters. Oh yeah, that can also happen. Yeah, if you don't get Poison Point, this usually takes a lot longer, but you can see the general idea of this.
use weak moves like Double Slap and Bullet Seed, because they don't get countered back for very much damage. I will definitely take winning that on my first attempt, though, because this can be a very luck-reliant battle CD sometimes. So, for completing that, we get a Hyper Potion. The advice here is pretty helpful, and it's exactly what I said. You want to use weak moves here, so the damage that you take in retaliation is also small. What did we quote-unquote learn from this? Well, you can kinda mitigate the threat of counter and Mirror Coat by using low damage moves. Personally, I don't think this is all that useful. The only reason it worked in this battle CD was because the opponent only had a WOBBUFFET. But if you're facing an actual human opponent who has Pokemon besides WOBBUFFET, they can just switch out. And because of Shadow Tag trapping you in, they know exactly what the switch in is coming into. And this, not WOBBUFFET's countering moves, is the reason why WOBBUFFET got banned in Generation 3 competitive. Well, that and the fact that if you have WOBBUFFET versus WOBBUFFET and they both have leftovers in Generation 3, the battle is endless and neither side can win or lose. In short, this is not a strategy that you want to rely on to beat WOBBUFFET. The closest thing to a reliable anti-WOBBUFFET strategy is to use either a Dugtrio or a Porygon 2, who will proceed to trace its Shadow Tag ability, with Toxic, trapping the WOBBUFFET in and forcing it to slowly go down to poison damage. Though the Porygon 2 version of this won't work in later generations, because they changed it so that Shadow Tag can switch out of other Shadow Tags. And the main reason why they did this was to prevent the WOBBUFFET versus WOBBUFFET endless battle situation from happening. I'm not gonna do a what's changed for this one, because really not much has. This strategy is still as unreliable for beating WOBBUFFET as it always was. Battle CD 15, a salute to meteorologists. Cast form has Future Sight too. This one's mostly just a fun theme battle, but it does have one interesting trick to it. So, our Pokemon is a cast form that's mainly going to be using Rain Dance here, but note that it also has Future Sight. Our opponents are a Torkoal, a Shedinja, and a Gyarados. Now, the main thing you want to worry about is this Shedinja. It may look at first glance like cast form doesn't have any moves that can damage it. But that's not actually true. We'll see that once we get into the battle itself. Also note that we are on a time limit, 4 turns. Whether cast form can weather the weather, we shall find out whether or not it can now. So, first up in our forecast, sunny skies with this Torkoal. And cast form is going to ignore that weather forecast, because it's going to focus on the weather forecast for a few days in advance by using Future Sight. If we went for Rain Dance first, this Torkoal would overwrite that rain with Sunny Day, and we don't want that at all. We want to make sure that rain is up. Also, cast form's going to turn into a fire type, which would actually be means that Sunny Day is kind of bad for Torkoal because its fire moves are weakened by my new typing anyway. However, that's going to change soon because today's weather forecast is rain. And being faster, we get our rain up before the Torkoal actually attacks. So, not only do we lower the damage of its fire moves, we also turn into a water type to resist them. So, this is a pretty bad weather forecast for this Torkoal. Also, it lowers its own special attack. Well, not really because of the White Herb, but it's not going to matter. Because today's weather forecast is severely wet turtles. With our Weather Ball, it gets double power thanks to being a weather. It also gets same type attack bonus. It's also a water type move, so that quickly takes out the Torkoal. Now, in comes Shedinja. And here's where that early weather prediction helped us. We can't hurt this Shedinja with any of our attacks, but our Future Sight certainly can. Future Sight is typeless in Generation 3, so it can affect Shedinja. That means Gyarados comes in just in time for turn 4's weather forecast, severe thunderstorms. Good thing is this Gyarados only has Dragon Rage, because if it didn't, then Cast Form probably wouldn't stand a chance. But with Rain, Thunder has perfect accuracy, Gyarados is quad weak to it. That's the end of our weather forecast for this week. The main thing you need to bear in mind is that Future Sight. If you don't know to use Future Sight at the right time, you won't be able to break through that Shedinja in time for the 4-turn limit. So, for finishing that Battle CD, we get a Revive. First time we're seeing that as a reward. The advice for this one is pretty self-explanatory and pretty obvious. You just need to know when to use Future Sight, and that is on the first turn. That serves a double purpose too, because it means the Torkoal doesn't overwrite your Rain with its Sun. Poor Shedinja again. This time, we learned another Achilles heel for it. Moves that cause typeless damage, like Future Sight in Generation 3, will hit through Wonder Guard. Other moves that do this in Generation 3 include Beat Up and Doom Desire. All three of those moves, though, aren't particularly good in Generation 3, and honestly, there are much better ways to counter Shedinja than using them. A secondary lesson that you'll probably end up learning if you do this CD wrong is that when two Pokemon set up weather on the same turn, the slower Pokemon gets their weather. This is because the faster Pokemon sets up their weather first, but then the slower Pokemon takes their turn and overwrites that weather with theirs. This doesn't just apply to weather setup moves, but also abilities that automatically set up weather. So, if a Pokemon with Drought and a Pokemon with Drizzle are both sent out on the same turn, the abilities activate in order of speed, meaning that again, the slower Pokemon is the one that gets their weather. This can have a lot of impact on how people EV train their Pokemon in certain competitive environments, particularly those that allow Groudon and Kyogre. You want your weather setter to be slower than opposing weather setters in order to make sure you get your weather up. Nothing much has changed in later generations regarding the weather speed thing, but a few things have changed for Shedinja. And finally the poor thing has some good news. Because the method used to beat it in this battle CD would not work as of Generation 5. Gen 5 changed Future Sight so that it now deals Psychic type damage instead of Typeless. This means that it does obey type effectiveness, and it does get same type attack bonus if used by a Psychic type, but most notably, because Shedinja is not weak to Psychic moves, Shedinja is now immune to Future Sight. This change also affected Doom Desire, which is now considered a Steel type move, so Wonder Guard does block it. Technically speaking, Beat Up also changed from Typeless to Dark type, but that doesn't matter because Shedinja is weak to Dark anyway. But it wasn't all good news for Shedinja. A bunch of new ways to get through abilities in general were added in later generations, and by ignoring abilities, all of them ignore Wonder Guard. These are the abilities Mold Breaker, Terravolt, and Turbo Blaze, and in Generation 7, the new moves Moongeist Beam and Sunsteel Strike. And you know what's sad? This is not the end of the Shedinja abuse in battle CDs. I admit that playing around Wonder Guard does make for some good puzzles, but you just feel really sorry for it.